So good morning, ITC. We're super happy to be with you virtually, unfortunately, but excited about talking about our three ways collaborations between Qover, Wacom, and Deliveroo, and how we were successful, we think, about launching products produced and operated digitally for the gig economy. So first, a few words about who we are. Wacom, we're an insurer, a full stack property and casualty insurer, delivering white label solutions digitally through APIs. To all kind of distributors across Europe. We're pan-European players now. Maybe Patrick, you can tell us a little bit more about, I would call it the meteoric growth of Deliveroo, and especially how you came up with an insurance solutions for the riders.
You know, Deliveroo has grown as a digital platform, not least because of the consumer behaviour of enjoying delivered food more as a natural part of everyday life rather than just special occasions. And essentially, there are three key stakeholders for Deliveroo in the world of Deliveroo. First and foremost, you need hungry customers. So as long as consumers are hungry, there's a market for delivered food. But providing them with what they want when they want it is key critical. Secondly, there are restaurants, so you need people to cook the food that's going to be delivered. And rather than being disruptive, Deliveroo is additive by providing restaurants an additional income stream and a way to scale their business without the overheads of bricks and mortar. And finally, you need a community of boys and girls who want to deliver that food and therefore chiming into the gig economy and the desire of many people to work at a time and a place that suits them, and in fact to work on many platforms is at the heart of Deliveroo's world. I started working with Deliveroo over 3 years ago, really focusing initially on the corporate insurance programs, which I still look after. But what was clear was that a form of protection through insurance was required for the freelancers. And what was also clear is that traditional insurance did not quite do the job. And it started forming in my mind a kind of, if you like, an ask of the insurance industry of how can we find something that is really super simple, that has superb user experience. It's very easy for the beneficiaries of the insurance to access, that uses the appropriate language. And repeatedly, we often see the insurance industry great at using insurance language to consumers. That really doesn't work. It had to use the language and the culture of Deliveroo in the way it communicates with the community. And we were looking at personal accident insurance. We were looking at replacement income if a rider was unable to work. We've been looking at, from time to time, sickness cover. We've been looking at third-party liability. So if you like, all of those protections a rider would need, but the test of any insurance is, at the point of truth, does it pay? Did it work? Was the language simple? Was it super easy for these stakeholders to understand? And last but not least, the insurance arranged on a group basis, if you like, with unnamed beneficiaries, was a key concept of the insurance, which of course isn't kind of normal in traditional insurance. And then finding an easy way to calculate and charge the premium. So it really works like a kind of pay-on-use insurance. So you get charged when the exposure is there, and when the exposure is not there, you don't get charged. So it was quite a demanding list. I mean, a short but simple list. But actually, when you look at traditional insurance, it was quite demanding, which is why, I hooked up with Quentin at Qover, and it needed some fresh thinking to bring to the party.
I mean, maybe Quentin, you can tell us a little bit more about Qover. And also you can tell us a little bit more about why you chose us.
I founded Qover with Jean-Charles, my associate, in 2016. We really are this kind of pan-European insurtech that that pioneer in the concept of open API and embedded insurance. And so far, we are super pleased to be active already in 11 countries, and we cover more than 100,000 insured through several great partnerships. So Qover has really the same kind of DNA and same tech and vision than Wacom. However, we are a financial intermediary. We are not an insurer. And I'm someone very pragmatic. So it's very interesting because I was carefully listening to what Patrick said, and it looks like he knew exactly what I was about to say, but we did not pre-align before because it is exactly what I was considering in terms of how did we help Deliveroo. So to be very pragmatic, when you think about the gig platform, first and foremost, what is key is this global solution, the global approach. Deliveroo is active in Europe in 7 countries, and what they want is to have a kind of harmonized solution that can, serve the rider, help the rider in a very standardized and harmonized way. And what they want to avoid is that each country is different. And this is really key to understand, is that Qover is based in Belgium and we operate in Europe with what we call the freedom of services. And for those who are from US and don't know freedom of services, basically it entitles a European business to operate from his home country to all European country. And by doing that, by operating from Brussels, we make sure that there is one process, one same operation, one same way to manage claim, one same way to serve Deliveroo across multiple countries. And this is key because what is very important for players like Deliveroo is, of course, to optimize the cost of insurance. And optimizing the cost is not only the premium you pay, but it's also the administrative cost on the side of Deliveroo to manage the program. And by having a pan-European approach, we enable to streamline the cost to be super efficient in the way we serve the client, while traditional players, actually, even though they could be global, they remain local. It's a sum of local entities because each of them would operate locally, for example, in France, in Spain, and in the UK. So this, first of all, pan-European approach is key. And a direct consequence of that is something that Patrick mentioned, but it's important to understand. A Deliveroo rider might be, for example, a Spanish student that is actually studying in France. So if he has an issue, if he has a claim, he would be super happy to speak to the call center or the customer care center in English, or he would be even more delighted to speak in Spanish. And because we have this kind of consolidated operation that are pan-European, we are able to serve all the riders in the native language wherever they are in Europe. What was also important, and I repeat a bit what Patrick said, but this is exactly my word, is that what Deliveroo was looking, or gig player were looking, is to be able to better manage seasonality effect, because gig economy and food delivery and see a lot of seasonality, but also to manage externalities. And COVID-19 is a good example of what we call externalities. And how you do that is to transform a cost of insurance into variable cost. So what we've been able to put in place is to really have a variable pricing, a per hour pricing or a per order pricing that actually manage positively the risk for Deliveroo and make sure that we can face this seasonality or externality. And last but not least, for Deliveroo, it's an unknown risk. When we started 3 years ago and we went on the market to find an insurer and we say, look, there is a great opportunity to insure some people that will try to deliver food as fast as possible on the bike, on the scooter, and we want to cover liability and accident. Do you want to do it, to insure that? I would say 99% of the insurers say no, absolutely no. So it was a new risk in a very fast-moving environment, and it was key to find a partner that was very open to that, and we as Qover are very proactive in managing the risk. We are in daily contact with Patrick. We have done, Patrick, I think, thousands of pricing and product simulation to continuously improve the coverage, optimize the processes, and having this reactivity and even proactivity and monitoring the risk is something key that we need to offer. And Qover really play here the role of a financial intermediary by being close to the client and really serve the client the same way. So then the question you ask, Olivier, why Wacom? I would say to people that are watching us, if you are an insurtech like us or a business, just work one time with Wacom and then you will understand why. That's the best answer I could give to this question. And you dare to take some risk. And at the end, that was very important to have someone that dare to take some risk, that dare also to adjust the risk and the pricing continuously, because we are a partnership. We really try to find the right balance here all together. And at the end, doing business is all about having fun. And there are really some great and nice, smart people at Wacom, same at Deliveroo. And it's been already 3 years we work together, but it was 3 years of very fun relationship.
Thank you, Quentin. The whole relationship with our partners like you, Quentin, with Qover, is fully digitalized. We try to give you a full transparency about the decision-making process, which is not very often the case with incumbent insurer, I would say that. So we try to give transparency and speed. And like you said, I think we dare to take some risks. An insurer is there to take risks. It requires to change a little bit the approach because historically, insurers have been working with actuarial models. It means that you analyze data from the past to project the future. So now we have to work differently because there are more and more new risks coming up. Like you said, riders that have to deliver as fast as possible food to people can be considered as the wrong risk to be insured. But it's actually the thing that we do now, and that we do thanks to you and thanks to the conjunction of collaborating a lot with Deliveroo, is that through our API, through our systems, we can adapt the pricing, we can test and learn, and that's what we're trying to do. And now, our company grew from 50 million GWP to 400 million in 5 years. And mobility is already 1/3 of that GWP. And I think that's why we wanted to put a lot of expertise on mobility. And that's why we love our partnerships. And across the 3 years, we're learning. We keep on learning about improving the product, improving the customer experience, improving the technical results, of course, of the products. And I think maybe I'd like to add up some things that what makes a successful, I think, a partnership between our three companies is also that the roles have been defined very clearly. At Wacom, we don't do distribution. We will never do distribution. This is your job at Qover, understanding the needs of Deliveroo and building the right customer experience with them and building the right products. We're an insurer. We try to understand your needs. We try to build the right products, and we stay there. And that's what we do in the value chain. So we consider that we are driving belt between capital and distributors. And I think that makes the partnership very successful because everybody has a very clear and defined role in this. So I would say trust and willingness to innovate, top-notch customer experience, European approach, like you said. We're now licensed in 13 countries through freedom of services, and we anticipate to be licensed in the 28 European countries, or 29, however you count. And this gives us a real assets to build pan-European program with distributors. Maybe Patrick, you want to say a few words, because for us, they were the drivers to build a successful partnership like ours. But also there's the human relation, the transparency, the collaboration. And maybe you can talk a little bit about those 3 years.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think we're all agreed it's been a journey, but the interesting thing, in a world full of change, the journey never ends. I think one of the things we've alluded to, but haven't said directly, is a requirement for Deliveroo of complete compliance and governance. So when we talk about innovation, it's not at the expense of doing things properly in a very compliant way. So much so that the design work and sourcing of insurance for Deliveroo, in fact, is done through an independent company called Tribe Advisory, which has other clients and other collaborations with Wacom and with Qover. But to make sure that there was no regulatory tripwire in terms of creating something really quite new. I think in terms of the relationship, keeping things simple, and I think the clarity on role is key critical. Whenever I've seen in my experience, and I've been in the risk and insurance world for 40 years, when you look at things go wrong, it's often where there's a cloudiness about who's responsible for what. So the simplicity has worked well for us. And actually understanding what the mutual goal and objective is. So really there's just one mission and we're all playing our part has been key. Absolute trust and transparency. So as we entered this journey, actually, it wasn't without risk. I think the key requirement for Deliveroo was to make sure that it articulated how it managed the rider community in terms of onboarding, in terms of health and safety, and all of these oversight responsibilities, just to be absolutely satisfied that lack of claims data doesn't mean you don't understand the risk. So understanding how the whole operation works was key critical to all parties. Transparency was the key. And I would say flexibility and the ability to test and change and be reactive, proactive and responsive has been absolutely key critical. Certainly what we couldn't have was an arrangement whereby we only look to innovate once a year around renewal time. In the world of Deliveroo, and actually in the world we live in, of climate change and pandemic and all those other things, we collaborate on a kind of 365 basis. We might need to respond almost immediately to something that either we predicted or we hadn't predicted. And I think last but not least is never forget the end user. And ultimately, we can create great things that are no relevance, not even important to the end user. So it's got to be attractive, appealing, and in the moment of truth, it has to work. And in our world, that is, unfortunately, if we have any kind of accident, and we have lots and lots of claims, members of the public who have been innocently lost or damaged need to be looked after. They're all potential customers of Deliveroo. Our riders, if they can't work, God forbid, if they're involved in accidents of the greatest severity, we need to look after them. Under the terms and conditions of the policy, we need to look after their families. But we need to do that in a non-standard, responsive way. So no reservation of rights, no kind of elongated, consequential claims process. We collaborate, we get together, we assess what's necessary, and we react quickly in a quite kind of non-standard but very exciting way. So there I think, are the hallmarks of the relationship. They're why the relationship has lasted 3 years, and there's no reason to suppose that the relationship for Deliveroo and maybe other clients that Tribe and Qover have will extend and extend and extend.
Well, happy to hear about that, Patrick. But the nature of transportation is changing. Clearly, we're moving from property to usage, and that changes. I mean, how insurance has to be delivered. Clearly, and maybe Quentin about Qover, you can say a few words about that. And also, I mean, my vision at WACAM is our vision is that COVID-19 has even accelerated that movement of fractional usage. And I'd like to know if you're both on the same page with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Olivier. So I believe COVID-19 has indeed changed, and we see a lot of new requests regarding mobility solution. And I'm also a strong believer, like you, that it's going towards what we call embedded insurance. And what we are doing all together is a perfect example of embedded insurance, in which we add insurance as a service into another type of mobility as a service. So that's a great kind of collaboration about embedded insurance.
And Patrick?
Yeah, and for me, I mean, zero carbon is now mandatory. Governments support it, taxation supports it, and the people support it. COVID-19 gave us clear skies, and now we've got an ever more increasing focus on the last mile, and the last mile can't be petrol driven. So that drives electric vehicles. We're living in a subscription-based world now rather than asset-owned. And therefore, insurance, what a great opportunity to adapt and to modify. And, those that move the quickest will reap the greatest rewards.
Yes, I agree. So thank you, ITC, and thank you to have listened to us. And you can see that we were very happy about working together for the last 3 years, and I hope it will just go on for another 3 years.